Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my channel. Let me ask you something. Have you ever wondered why some men seem to effortlessly draw women toward them while others, good men, kind men, seem invisible? It's not about the car, the suit, or even the number in your bank account. It's something more subtle, more ancient, and far more powerful. Women are not walking into relationships with a checklist in their hands, at least not the way you think. They are reading you in ways you may not even notice. They are listening to your tone when you speak to a stranger. They're watching how your eyes linger or don't when another woman walks by. They're paying attention to how you handle disappointment and whether you can still make them laugh when the world feels heavy. And here's the truth: much of what draws a woman in happens before a single word is spoken. It's in your energy, in the story your presence tells, in the unspoken signals you send when you walk into a room. Today we're going to strip back the layers, not to play games, but to understand the quiet, powerful ways women choose, and why the choice is rarely about what you think it is. I want you to imagine something for a moment. You're at a small dinner gathering. Maybe it's at a friend's apartment. Candles glowing, soft music in the background, plates of food being passed around. Across the table sits a woman you've never met before. You notice her laugh, not because it's loud, but because it seems real. And in that moment, something passes between you. She notices you too. But what she's seeing isn't what you think. It's not the brand of your shirt or the way you've styled your hair tonight. No, she's reading something much deeper. Something evolutionary. Something that happens in microseconds, far before she even knows your name. You see, when a woman chooses a man, it rarely begins with logic. It begins with a feeling her body picks up before her mind can explain it. And that feeling is built on cues, subtle, almost invisible cues that you're sending without realizing. The first of these cues is your sense of presence. Presence is not just about standing tall. It's about being here. Women notice when you are fully in a room, not half on your phone, not mentally somewhere else. Your eyes meet hers and hold, not in an aggressive way, but in a way that says, I am with you in this moment. This presence tells her you are a man who can create safety, intimacy, and attention. 3 things that, whether she admits it or not, she deeply craves. And here's where most men get it wrong. They think presence means performance, that they must do something grand to be noticed. But presence is not performance. It is the opposite. It is the ability to simply be, without grasping for approval, to listen when she speaks, to notice the details, to let silences exist without rushing to fill them. In those moments, she begins to feel something primal, that you are anchored, that you are not easily moved by chaos. Now, alongside presence, there is emotional calibration. Women are exquisitely sensitive to the emotional temperature of the people around them. If your energy is frantic, defensive, or overly eager, she will feel it instantly. It's not that she needs you to be emotionless, far from it. But she wants to see if you can hold your ground when life is not going your way. Think about it. Imagine she sees you interact with the waiter who just got your order wrong. Do you snap? Do you sulk? Or do you respond with calm, maybe even humor? That moment, tiny as it is, sends her information about you. It tells her whether you will be a storm in her life or a shelter from one. This is why sometimes a man who is not conventionally the best catch on paper will still become the most magnetic in the room, because while other men are busy broadcasting their array, he is quietly demonstrating his emotional stability, his patience, and his ability to stay rooted in himself. And there's another layer to this. Women also pick up on how you hold yourself when you are not the center of attention. If you can be at ease while someone else is shining, if you don't need to steal the spotlight, she feels a rare kind of security around you. This security is magnetic. It allows her to imagine that with you, she can be fully herself without competing for space. Let's not pretend here. Attraction is complex. It is a dance between chemistry and psychology, between instinct and story. But those first impressions, they are not made of grand gestures. They are made of subtle consistencies that speak louder than any pickup line. The third thing she notices, and this one is less obvious, is the way you relate to other women who are not her. This is not about flirting, it's about respect. She watches your tone with the waitress, your warmth toward an older female colleague, the way you greet her friends. If she senses that your charm turns off the moment a woman is not a romantic prospect, she'll file that away, and not in your favor. Because to her, this reveals your deeper values. It tells her whether you see women as individuals worthy of kindness or only as potential conquests. And trust me, women are incredibly skilled at spotting this difference, often within minutes. So, in those first moments, before you've even started, she's already collecting all of this data. Not consciously, not with a clipboard, but with a lifetime of learned intuition. And here's the secret most men miss. She doesn't want you to act these qualities. She wants them to be who you are. Because if you try to fake them, she will sense the performance. And the spell will break before it even begins. That's why true attraction, the kind that lasts beyond the first drink, the first laugh, the first kiss, begins not with a line, but with a state of being. Your presence, your emotional stability, your respect for women, these are not tricks, they are the foundation. And once she feels them, really feels them, something shifts. Her guard lowers. She leans in, not because you convinced her, but because she decided for herself, this is a man I want to know more about. Once that first layer of presence and stability begins to settle in her, something else starts to happen. She starts to wonder, who is this man when life is not curated? Because attraction can bloom quickly, but trust takes a little longer. And here's where women begin reading a very different set of cues. These are not about first impressions. These are about the undercurrent of your life. They're looking for signs, often unconsciously, of your relationship with yourself. One of the most magnetic qualities you can have is self-respect. I'm not talking about arrogance or the puffed-up bravado some men mistake for confidence. I'm talking about the quiet, non-negotiable boundaries you hold for yourself. Women notice when you treat your time as valuable, when you don't abandon your own needs just to please everyone around you. This is not selfishness, it's self-trust. And it tells her that if you value yourself, you will be able to value her. She also pays attention to your curiosity about the world. Do you have interests beyond her? Do you light up when talking about a book, a project, a trip you took? Passion, not just for her, but for life, is a kind of oxygen in attraction. When you are engaged with the world, you are showing her that you can bring energy, stories, and inspiration into a shared life. A man without curiosity is like a room with no windows. It might feel safe, but eventually it becomes suffocating. Now here's a truth men rarely hear. Women are deeply attuned to how you handle setbacks. Maybe it's a bad day at work. Maybe a plan falls apart. She notices whether you collapse into bitterness or whether you can pivot with resilience. It's not that she expects you to be unshakable. She knows you're human, but your relationship with failure tells her about your capacity to navigate a life together. Can you stand up after you fall? Can you laugh, even when the story didn't go your way? And sometimes this is tested in the smallest, most unexpected ways. She might invite you to meet her friends, and one of them asks you a challenging question or teases you playfully. In that moment, your reaction is telling. Do you become defensive or can you roll with it? The men who can play, who can meet challenge with grace, are often the men who stay in her memory. There's another layer here, one that is almost invisible unless you know what to look for: your emotional generosity. Not grand gestures, but the everyday ways you give without keeping score. Do you ask questions about her life and actually listen to the answers? Do you remember details she's mentioned weeks before? Women notice when your interest is genuine, when you're not just waiting for your turn to speak. And they notice when you give without expecting immediate return. That kind of generosity makes her feel safe, not because she needs you to solve her life, but because it shows you see her as a person, not a transaction. And yet, here's the paradox. While she values your generosity, she also wants to know you can say no. Women feel safest with men who have a spine, who can hold their own desires and boundaries without apology. If you agree to everything just to please her, she may enjoy the convenience at first, but deep down she'll start to question whether you have your own center. Think about it like this. Attraction is not born from sameness. It's born from the dance between closeness and individuality. If she feels you will disappear into her, the spark fades. But if she feels you will stand beside her as your own whole person, the tension, the good kind, stays alive. And all of this is happening in her mind while you are simply being yourself or not. That's the beauty and the danger of this unspoken selection process. You cannot trick it. You can only live it. There's also the way you respond to her boundaries early on. Maybe she says she's not ready for something. Do you pressure her or do you respect it? That one decision can seal her trust or close the door completely. Respecting her pace doesn't just make you nice guy. It tells her you are emotionally mature enough to create a relationship where she can breathe. Women are looking for someone they can admire, not just desire. They want to feel proud of you when they introduce you to the people who matter to them. And pride is built not only on your accomplishments, but on the way you treat people, the way you live your values even when no one is watching. Because ultimately, when a woman chooses a man, she's not just choosing a partner for dinners and dates. She's choosing someone to stand beside her in the quiet moments, the stressful days, the life she hasn't even lived yet. And the irony, most men think women are looking for perfection. They're not. They're looking for truth, for a man who is not pretending to be someone else. The flaws you own become far more attractive than the perfection you fake. By the time you've shown her your presence, your stability, your curiosity, and your boundaries, something else starts to awaken, not just in her mind, but in her body. Attraction is not a purely intellectual process. It's chemistry, it's instinct, it's centuries of human evolution whispering beneath the surface of your conversations. A woman's subconscious is constantly scanning for one question: will my life expand with this man, or will it shrink? That's the compass she follows, whether she realizes it or not. This is where the the story you tell about yourself becomes vital. And I don't mean a rehearsed speech or a curated version of your life for social media. I mean the way you carry the narrative of your own life, your struggles, your triumphs, your mistakes, in a way that shows you're not afraid of them. When you can speak about your past without shame, but also without arrogance, you signal emotional integration. You're not trying to be the hero of every story. You're comfortable being the man who has learned, who has grown. And growth is irresistible to a woman who is thinking about a long-term partner. Because if you've grown before, you can grow again. And that means you can adapt, evolve, and meet her in the changing seasons of life. But there's also a very primal layer to this. Whether she's aware of it or not, she's reading your vitality. Not just physical health, though that matters, but your overall life force. Do you have energy for living? Do you move through your days with a sense of aliveness? Vitality is contagious. When she's around you, does she feel more awake, more inspired? Or does she feel drained? It's in small things, the way you stand, the way you breathe, the way your laughter fills a room without trying too hard, that vitality signals not just attraction, but safety. Because a man who has energy for life is a man who can provide stability without becoming stagnant. There's another thing, and this one lives in the quiet spaces. Your ability to create desire without forcing it. Desire thrives on mystery, not secrecy, not manipulation, but mystery, the sense that she doesn't know everything about you yet, and that discovering more will be a pleasure. Men who spill every detail of their lives too soon, or who constantly seek validation, flatten the intrigue. This doesn't mean playing games. It means living a life so textured, so full, that she naturally wants to step closer to see more. You are not a book that can be read in one night, you are a story unfolding. And then there's the question of how you make her feel about herself. The most magnetic men are not those who constantly flatter a woman, but those who awaken parts of her she forgot were there. Maybe you spark her adventurous side. Maybe you make her feel more beautiful simply because you notice her in a way that's rare, not with generic compliments, but with attention to the little things she does when she's lost in her own world. When a woman feels more alive in your presence, she will keep choosing you, consciously or not, because you're not just offering her a relationship, you're offering her a mirror in which she sees her best self reflected. And here's the quiet truth: women are not looking for a man who will complete them. That's an outdated fairy tale. They are looking for a man who will amplify them, who will meet them at their level and still surprise them. This is why some men remain unforgettable. They may not have been the richest, the most handsome, or the most perfect, but they were the ones who expanded her world rather than narrowing it. By now, you might think the choice has been made. She's laughing at your jokes, leaning in when you speak, texting you first. But here's the thing. Attraction may spark instantly, yet commitment, trust, and certainty grow through a quieter, almost imperceptible process. I call this the testing phase, and no, it's not some manipulative game she's playing. It's an instinct, a way of confirming that what she felt in the beginning is not just a flicker, but a flame that can withstand wind. The first kind of test is often subtle. How do you handle small disappointments? Maybe she cancels a date last minute because she's exhausted from work. She's not looking for a groveling apology from you. She's noticing whether you guilt her, withdraw affection, or take it in stride. A man who can respect her boundaries without soaking communicates something far more attractive than neediness. He shows that he's not reliant on constant validation to stay secure. Another test might be your response to her independence. Many women, especially those who value their autonomy, want to see if you can hold space for their world without trying to own it. She might spend a weekend away with friends or take on a project that consumes her time. If your first reaction is suspicion, if you demand constant check-ins, you send the message that your confidence is conditional. But if you encourage her, celebrate her pursuits, and trust her without hovering, she feels freer and paradoxically more connected to you. Then there's the way you handle moments when she challenges you. This could be playful teasing, or it could be disagreeing with something you've said. Some men take any challenge as a threat to their masculinity, and in their defensiveness, they close the door to deeper connection. But the man who can meet challenge with openness, who can hold his ground without hostility, becomes magnetic, because in that moment, she sees a man who doesn't need to dominate to feel powerful. These tests aren't always conscious decisions. They're often instinctive, the same way you might unconsciously notice if someone stands up for themselves when they're treated unfairly. She's observing your ability to stay rooted while staying connected. And yes, there are times when the test is silence. She might pull back slightly, not to punish you, but to fill the space between you. It's her way of asking, will you chase, will you panic, or will you simply hold your place and trust the connection to breathe? The man who can give space without fear shows he's not addicted to constant reassurance. What's remarkable is that these moments are rarely grand. They happen in between the big gestures. In the casual text you send when she's busy, in the way you say goodnight after a disagreement, in the ease with which you can let a moment be imperfect without scrambling to fix it. Because ultimately, what she's trying to see is this: are you the same man when the music stops, when the lights dim and the performance fades? If the answer is yes, if your confidence, your warmth, your respect are not situational but steady, she moves from simply being attracted to feeling anchored in you. That's when the choice deepens. That's when she stops looking over your shoulder at what else might be out there. Because in a world full of uncertainty, you've shown her something rare, consistency, and that, more than charm, more than beauty, more than the best line you could ever deliver, is what makes her stay. There comes a point where her decision is no longer forming in the background, it has settled. She has felt your presence, she has seen your steadiness, she has lived through your curiosity and your boundaries. She has tested your patience, your openness, your ability to give space and to stay. And now she knows. What's remarkable is that this knowing rarely announces itself with fanfare. It's not a movie moment where she suddenly bursts into your arms. More often, it's quiet, a deep exhale she didn't even know she was holding. She starts to trust that the man she met is the man you are. She trusts that what she's seen in private matches what you show in public. She trusts that you will not vanish when life becomes inconvenient. This is when her choice becomes less about you as an image and more about you as a place, because that's what you've become for her. A place where she can return, a place where she can rest, a place where she can still be herself without fear that it will cost her the connection. And here is the real secret: women do not choose men purely because they desire them. They choose men because of how they feel about themselves when they are with them. You could be the most magnetic man in the room, but if she feels smaller in your presence, she will drift away. If she feels unseen, she will look elsewhere for the light. But if she feels expanded, if you awaken her best, most alive self, she will return to you again and again. This doesn't mean you have to be perfect. In fact, your imperfections, when owned, can make you even more trustworthy. It's your self-awareness that matters, your willingness to own your mistakes without collapsing into shame. Perfection is intimidating, honesty is irresistible, and here's where so many men miss the point. They chase approval instead of building integrity. Approval fades, integrity endures. Approval makes you dependent on her reaction. Integrity lets you stand whether she's in the room or not. And ironically, it's that independence, that ability to choose her without needing her to validate your worth, that makes her choose you even more. When you live this way, you don't have to convince a woman to choose you. She will feel it. She will feel the safety, the depth, the vitality, and the intrigue. She will feel her own world expand when she's near you. And no amount of competition, no distraction, no fleeting attraction elsewhere will hold the same weight. Because the truth is, when a woman chooses in this way, when her decision is anchored in who you are, not just how you make her feel for a moment, that choice has a way of outlasting storms. You stop being just a chapter in her story, and you become a constant she can build with. And perhaps the most beautiful part of it all is that you didn't have to manipulate her to get here. You simply lived as the man you are becoming, a man who can be present, a man who can hold space, a man who respects women not just when he wants something from them, but because he sees their humanity, a man who stands in his own life fully enough to invite someone else in without losing himself. That's the kind of man she chooses, not once but over and over again. So, if you take anything from this, let it be this: you don't have to become someone else to be chosen. You just have to become more yourself, the self you are proud of, the self you can stand by when no one is watching. And when you do, you will notice something extraordinary. The right woman will not just notice you, she will choose you in ways that make the choosing feel effortless. And that, my friends, is where love stops being a performance and starts being a place you can both call home.